my name is Donna and welcome back to my YouTube channel, No Mirror Needed. So my Age of Aquarius video did so well and I got a ton of positive feedback from you guys asking to do a follow-up video and other videos related to that topic, and it made me think of starting a brand new series on my channel called Astrology Gazing, where I'm just gonna go and talk about different astrological topics and interpretations, things that I think that you guys will be really interested in. So if you haven't checked out that video yet, I will leave a link down below so you can go ahead and watch it, but it's really great and informative. If you don't know what Age of Aquarius is, or you're just coming into astrology, you'll really find that video really interesting. So I'm not an astrologer by any means, but I've always been really interested on the topic on how our particular signs influence our behavior, our relationships, our destiny, our interactions with other people. And I do a ton of research on this, but the book that I always gravitate back towards is called The Only Astrology Book You Will Ever Need. It's by Joanna Martin Woolfolk, and this book is absolutely amazing. It will break down each one of your astrological signs. It will give you your sun signs, your moon signs, all the different planets that are associated with your particular sign, and how those influences affect you behavior wise, your relationships, and just type of life experience that you're gonna have being the sign that you are. And there's so many factors that go into this, such as your ascending sign, your rising sign, also the time of day that you were born. So there's a lot of different things that go into it. And like I said, I am not an expert in astrology by any means whatsoever, but it's just a topic that I've always been super interested in. So if you've ever really wondered about yourself, like what really makes you tick inside, why you get so upset over certain situations, or why you react to certain things, how those things affect you in your life and the relationships that you're having, then maybe you don't quite understand why or where some of those feelings are coming from. And most likely it does really have something to do with your environment as well as your astrological sign. This plays a huge influence on your fears, your emotions, who you fall in love with, and basically your undergoing personality, as well as how you interact with other people and how situations really affect you and cause you the emotions that you're feeling. Have you ever wondered to yourself why you're getting so upset over a particular topic, or why you're fearful of something, or why you love something so much or have a passion about it? These are just topics that have always come up for me, and I've always wondered about myself. And by knowing your sign and knowing where you come from and why you are falling into that category, you will have a better understanding of who you are and how to basically deal with some of those topics and those situations that you find yourself in. Astrology in general is basically a gateway to your destiny. It's like a professional staircase to who you are and where you're going in the future and where you've been in the past. By understanding your particular sign, you will really truly understand yourself more. For centuries, philosophers, scientists, astrologers have pondered the idea on how this correlation between the two really influence your life and your experiences, and how it can broaden your horizon when it comes to certain situations going on in your life. Not only that, but the stars really play a huge correlation between our astrology, our influences, and where we're coming from, how we're experiencing things. So understanding the stars as well is really going to help you understand your sign. In this video today, I'm going to dive really deep in the mind, heart, and soul of a Cancer. Now, I'm a Cancer, and I'm going to be doing this throughout all the astrologer signs. I'm going to be touching upon each and every one of them, but I'm starting with Cancer because we are approaching the month of July, and I am a Cancer baby. So I wish I would have worn my Cancer shirt that I wore like 2 videos ago, but I didn't quite know I was going to do this video yet, so it would have been cool if I had my little crab on, but maybe it would have been cheesy. I'm not too sure. But anyway, I'm going to dive really deep down into how and what makes a Cancer tick. Now, my birthday is in July. I'm on the last day between Leo and Cancer. I'm July 22nd. So that really has given me a split personality, so to say, because if you're on the cusp, you have a little bit of Cancer in you and a little bit of the other sign that you're bordering, and my border sign is Leo. So my inner turmoil comes from the Cancer, while my outside personality is a Leo. And for years and years, it has been a constant struggle between the two signs for me. Part of me wants to be a Cancer while the other part wants to be a Leo, and I'm always fighting with myself, trying to bring out maybe the worst qualities of both of those signs, because I feel like it's always a struggle between if I want to go down the Cancer path today or if I want to be more of a Leo today. And it's sometimes really hard to choose which sign I am gravitating more towards in what situation. It's almost like I have a devil and an angel on my shoulder when situations, topics, feelings, emotions arise, because sometimes I'm not sure which way I want to really go. And being a Cancer in general is so difficult. If you are a Cancer like me, you know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. I'm sorry if you hear some noise outside. My neighbors are having a yard sale today, so they're going back and forth in between the two houses, so I apologize for the outside noise. First, let's talk about dualities and what they are. The 12 signs of the zodiac are split into two groups: masculine and feminine, 6 masculine and 6 feminine. This has no pertaining to sexuality whatsoever. It's just how the sign approaches certain situations. So if you're a masculine sign, you tend to be more direct, more energetic, whereas if you're a feminine sign, you tend to be more receptive, more magnetic to the people around you, more emotional. So these tend to be just the way they are categorized, and Cancer is a feminine sign. If you're a Cancer, your birthday is going to fall anywhere between June 21st and July 22nd. Again, my birthday is July 22nd, so I'm the last day between Cancer and Leo cusp. And what this means is that you also have the pictograph of the crab. So what are some qualities of a Cancer? Cancers tend to be very sympathetic, receptive, imaginative. They can also take on a lot of the emotions of the people that are around them. They can tend to be very shrewd, and they can kind of manipulate situations to their favor because they know what's going on. Cancers can be emotional, sometimes a little too emotional, where it's kind of hard to deal with a Cancer sometimes. They also are very intuitive, which makes them a little psychic at times. The ruling planet for Cancer is the moon, and for me, this is so true. I've always been super influenced by the moon, especially if there's a full moon out there. I really can feel its magnetic pull. I become just a little bit more emotional when there's a full moon out. I can kind of like feel the energy and the magnetic pull of it. I've also been super interested in it. I always tend to like stare up at it, and I get like kind of like daydreamy about it, like what's going on the moon. I've always felt it to be super mystical and magical, the moon. So for me, it rings very true that the ruling planet would be the moon. I just feel like a weird connection to the moon sometimes, especially if it's a full moon or it's a super moon. I am a wreck. The symbol of Cancer is obviously the crab, and the crab for me is so true for a Cancer. Cancers have a really hard exterior with a very soft interior, and they feel that they're in trouble or danger, or they don't trust what's going on around them. They really tend to just go back right into their shell, and they use that shell as protection or a coping mechanism. The pictograph itself is 2 crabs. It's kind of like a circle. I'll put a picture up for you. The crabs represent protection, whereas the 2 circles actually represent breasts, which is the part of the anatomy that Cancer rules by. Cancers are very emotional, so they tend to start phrases or conversations with I feel this way, I feel that way. And for me, that's how I start every conversation that I have with people. It's always I feel a certain way, and sometimes that can come off a little bit selfish, because you always feel like you're putting yourself first and that your needs are first and your feelings are first. But because Cancers are so emotional, they always tend to start their conversations with I feel, I want, or I know, even sometimes. The opposite sign of Cancer is Capricorn. So the mirror image of Cancer is Capricorn. It's like the exact opposite of a Cancer. Cancers really tend to be homebodies and really seek to nurture and make their happiness their home. And they feel the most safe when they're seeking out relationships and they're close to the people that they know love them. The birthstone for Cancer is pearl, but I've always known it to be a ruby. I guess it just depends on what astrology book or reading that you are getting, because I've seen it be both the pearl and the ruby stone. But for me, I've always gravitated more towards the ruby, although pearls are beautiful and they come from the ocean. I also think that you can go either way. So a birthstone for me, for a Cancer, could either be the ruby or the pearl. So let's just dive right into a Cancer's most likable traits. Cancers are most often very misunderstood. They're so misunderstood sometimes that sometimes they don't even understand themselves. That's how confusing a Cancer sign can be. They tend to appear very easygoing, sympathetic, emotional, and also they can appear to be as a very good listener. However, as soon as you ask a Cancer for their advice or their need to put someone else's emotions and feelings first, they can literally change on a dime. They can be very cranky, snappy, and indifferent about the situation they're being put into. They tend to come across as not even caring about the situation because it no longer involves them or their feelings. For Cancers, they tend to really wallow in their self-pity, and they tend to complain a lot about how the world around them is mistreating them. But then, within an instance, they can become very helpful, they become funny, they can even become ready to help others in an immediate instance within the same situation that's going on. That's why it's very hard to understand them, because on a dime, their emotions will just turn, especially to fit whatever situation is going on right there and right then. For me, a Cancer is just a complete mess of contradiction. They are exactly like the tide of the ocean. They're just kind of like moving along, and they have such a powerful force about them that they can swallow anything up very, very quickly. And again, they'll retreat right back in and they'll move right back out. So they are exactly like the tide with their emotions. They're just literally up and down depending on what situation is going on at that one time. Cancers have done a great job bulking up their exterior shell. They really hide their deepest emotions and feelings deep inside of them for protection. And they also become very, very sensitive. Their feelings are hurt very, very easily. Once that happens, a Cancer will never forgive. It's very hard for them to come out of that shell and face the hurt ever again. So they tend to really bury themselves wallowing in that pity until it just sometimes eats them alive. Cancers hold really good onto grudges. They do really good holding onto those grudges. They will remember things for a really, really long time, and it's very hard for them to forgive and forget sometimes. Maybe if they do forgive and forget, at the surface, they are always remembering, and they will always have that experience with you on the other side. They will always keep it close to their heart, and they will always have it as a reference. Cancers at times could appear to be very fragile, also very unpredictable, and very, very temperamental. A typical Cancer needs constant attention, constant support, constant pat on the backs, and they are always seeking approval of others. For me, this is so true. I've had plenty of friends in the past tell me that I have been very much like this. That's why I just relate so much to a Cancer, because it is literally my personality to the T. For me, you have to get to know a Cancer to like a Cancer, and then when you know that they're on a Cancer, you're like, oh, that's why. Okay, that makes sense now. This array of emotions, like I said, makes it very hard for Cancers to keep long-lasting relationships. They kind of corrode and sabotage some of their closest, deepest relationships, and they can tend to also push away even the longest of friendships. When Cancers receive the support and emotion that they need, they become immensely loyal to those people and usually will never ever leave their side. All a Cancer really wants to do is just break out of that shell. And for me, when I break out of my shell, it's the Leo that steps in and takes over from the Cancer. Kind of like tugs that Cancer out of its shell by its legs and says, you're going to come out of this shell whether you like it or not. They just want to break free and be free, but staying so closed off makes it immensely hard for them to do that. They are very fearful of the world around them and tend to have high anxiety. But this also gives them a heightened sense of awareness of their surroundings. So they're always aware of everything that's always going on around them. They have eyes all over the place. And for me, I have one of the best hearings ever. I know what's going on at all times. If I feel like someone's having a bad day, I can sense they're having a bad day. I can hear what's going on 2 rooms away, and I can kind of pick up off of those emotions that those people are having. I could see the look on their face and just tell right away what's going on. And like I said, that works in my favor sometimes because I can really be shrewd and manipulate the situation and get what I want when I get it because I can see what's going on around me. The senses that I have, those heightened senses, they never go away. away. They're always on at all times, and it kind of makes it very exhausting sometimes. The most contradictory trait, I think, for a Cancer is the fact that they are so good at nurturing. They're born nurturers. However, they're so unselfish. Like, they can be so unselfish, but they come off being selfish, which is such a contradiction for me, because if you know a Cancer, you know how loyal they are and how nurturing they are and how much they really can help situations. And if you know a Cancer and a Cancer's in your life, you know how much of an impact they have on your life, and they're a huge influence on you. Cancers really can make very long-lasting impressions. Cancers are extreme worriers, and they're susceptible to having a lot of digestive and stomach issues, also high anxiety and lots of stress. For me, this is so true, because as I've gotten older, I've always been a warrior. I've always been a worrier, but as I've gotten older, the anxiety and the stress has actually gotten worse for me, and I tend to worry about everything. It's just like I see the doom and gloom before me. Like I see it, and like I don't want to participate in life because I don't want something bad to happen to me. And I don't know if that's just the world that's going on around us now, or that's just part of being a Cancer, but it tends to make it even more heightened and more scary, to be honest with you. One thing people have told me in the past about myself being a Cancer is that they can pour their heart and soul out to me, and then they can tell me all their deepest emotions and feelings, but the reciprocation is never organic or never genuine. Like, they're never too sure how I feel about the situation, because I never share my feelings back. So it kind of becomes a little like ingenuine about the situation, because the feelings and the flow of the relationship is never quite reciprocated on my end to the other person. And that just goes back to protecting the Cancer, trying to, protect themselves and protect their emotions. They never want to share too much, because they're always looking to protect themselves from being hurt. One thing about a Cancer is, as soon as they're hurt, they kind of retreat back into their shell and they sulk, kind of like wallowing in their feelings instead of taking like a proactive approach to fixing the situation. One thing about a Cancer is that they'll never retaliate. Instead, they'll just sulk and sulk and sulk. It's to the point where this technique actually really works, because the mind game of a Cancer is worse than being whipped to death. Like, that's how people like relate to it. They say it's like the sulking and the mind games that a Cancer could unleash on someone that has hurt them is just worse than anything that anyone could ever imagine. The other person at that point either gives up or gives in or just walks away from the situation completely, because sometimes it's just really way too much to handle. Cancers are extremely possessive and materialistic, and they really do tend to hold on to a lot of memories and objects that relate to the past. If a Cancer ever gets their claws in you, you will never be free from them again. You will be in their clutches literally forever. Cancers are extremely nostalgic. I know I am. If you watch my videos, you know that I'm constantly talking about high school, constantly talking about the past, the 90s, stuff like that, because it's just a period of my time that's very nostalgic and emotional for me. Makes me just remember things from the past, and I can sit and daydream over things that have happened in the past, relationships, funny jokes, people. It just kind of depends, and we tend to really hold on to the past. For me, I know being a Cancer, it is very hard to deceive me. Cancers tend to be highly intuitive, and like I was saying before, they know what's going on at all times. So they're never really put into a situation where you are going to get one over on them. It sort of never happens. They have intense power of observation. And for me, that is so true. I really can scan a room and see what's going on and see the relationships and the conversations that people are having with each other, and know, like, that couple's having a fight, that father's mad, that guy's divorced. Like, it depends on the situation, because I can really pick up and read people's faces and emotions. It's like their emotions are exuding out of them, and I'm kind of like soaking it all in, and it makes it very extremely difficult to sometimes even hear my own feelings, because I'm kind of like feeling everyone else's around me. Cancers can really pinpoint the inner motivations of other people. Like I can see what their motivations are before it happens, and that's why it's kind of hard to deceive a Cancer, because they are on top of their game mostly all of the time. If you ever see a crab moving on the beach, you know that the crab is kind of like sidestepping its way to their goal. And that's kind of like how I've always been in my life. People have always said I've taken like the long road or the hard approach, or I've done things and made things harder for myself. But being a Cancer, like that's just the way it works for me. Instead of going in a straight line, I tend to always go diagonal, and it kind of works for me because I'll eventually get there. I'll eventually get to my goal, but it's going to be a longer, harder, winding road than if I would just take the straight path. Now, if a Cancer can get just past all of these traits, which I know if you're watching this, you're saying to yourself, wow, Cancers are just an emotional wreck. Like who wants to even be involved in a Cancer? But if a Cancer can move past all of these traits, they will be extremely successful people. Cancers tend to hold themselves back a lot from things. Cancers tend to be their own worst enemy at times. Cancers are very practical, shrewd, and conservative, and can turn any creativity into a practical idea. They're often called the money sign with their ability to attract money and financial security and support. Cancers are very easy to fall in love with, and once you get to know a Cancer, they will be in your life for a really, really long time. Someone's barking. She has the dogs outside. She's not a Cancer. She's a Gemini. Her birthday's in June, which her birthday is going to be next week. Your birthday's next week? How old are you going to be? 4? They have a birthday party? She's not having it. I'm having it today. So now let's dive into how a Cancer sees themselves and feels about themselves. For me, I know I've always felt like just an outsider. Like I've always felt like my sign or my personality just could never get on the ball with everybody else. I always felt like I was always on the outside looking in, and that everyone else was normal, but for some reason I was the weird person. Like I was the weird one who had weird feelings, weird intuitions, weird emotions, and like no one could really relate to anything that I was feeling. If you were not a Cancer, you couldn't really relate to how I was feeling. And I originally had this book and read the book. This is the book that I'm talking about, The Greatest Astrology Book You'll Ever Need. I originally had this book years ago. I had got it and I read like everything about my sign, mapped out my sign. I knew the time of day that I was born, because in the back it has like a whole schedule on how you could do mapping of your entire sign. And I did that, and I knew about my ascending planets, my rising planets. Like I knew everything, and I had like 5 planets in the moon, and like I just learned all about myself. And like I said, I'm not an astrologer, so like I have to like really understand. Reading this, you have to keep just reading it to understand, because it could tend to be very confusing. But for me, once I learned about myself and accepted who I was, and that this is just how I was created, and learned to accept it and how to deal with certain situations, then for me, I didn't feel so bad about things anymore, and I didn't wallow in my self-pity anymore, and I didn't think that woe is me, the whole world was out to get me all the time, because honestly that is not the case. And once I learned that, I started to really feel really good about myself. For one, Cancers tend to be very calm with immense strength, but deep down inside, they're very insecure, and they always feel a little bit inadequate, which is how I always felt about myself. I always felt just a little bit inadequate about myself. You always feel as a Cancer like others always know more than you, and that they're doing things better than you. Like they're just living life better. For some reason, you just can't get a grasp on life, and that everyone else is doing it so much better than you are. But that is not the case whatsoever. No one's living life better than anyone else. It's just an insecurity that a Cancer has. For Cancers, they always feel like they're free falling through life, so they tend to structure and build their life very organized and straightforward. Like that's kind of like how I've always lived my life, is like everything needs to be in a certain order, very organized, and if it goes outside of the little box that I've created, I lose control. Like, I always have to be in control as a Cancer. For me, Cancers think that the worst possible scenario is out there. They always think the worst thing can happen, and that's how I always see things as well. Like, there's always going to be something bad that's going to happen. Being in this type of conflict can make a Cancer feel very, very depressed. Cancers don't like change whatsoever. They don't like, you know, thrive off of change. They don't like change, and they don't like doing situations that they've never done before. But at the end of the day, my hesitance kind of like fuels my fire a little bit more, because I know that it has to get done, so I will do it anyway. Like, I don't let it stop me. Like, I will do it eventually, but I will do it at my own time, my own pace. But the immense amount of stress and anxiety that comes with having to face certain situations is sometimes debilitating. Like, I have to like really talk myself off the ledge and know that it's just a feeling that I'm having, and that it's gonna be fine, and that I can do it. And in the back of my head, I always know, like, it's gotta be done, so I'm just gonna do it. So now that we've covered how you see yourself as a Cancer, how do others see you? So some people can find Cancers to be extremely overwhelming, manipulative, and very controlling. And I've heard this about myself in the past, about people who have said this to me, who didn't really get to know me or know who I was. They can say that I was very controlling and very manipulative. Cancers are very good at keeping secrets, and are very good at excluding people from like get-togethers or outings. They really just like to be by themselves, and they like to have a very small group of people around them that they know they can trust and who love them, who only have their best interest in mind. But they tend to really push a lot of people away, and they tend to be loners, and usually a lot by themselves. People really tend to find Cancers to be very moody, very crabby, and too emotional. They tend to say that Cancers can really bring down the fun in any situation. For me, I am a true Cancer, and some of these traits really do define my personality, but I don't let them define who I am as a person. That is the difference that you have to learn. I've really learned over the years how to really acknowledge and learn about my most unflattering traits, and over the years I have learned the error of my ways. But I am a true Cancer at heart, and I would not have it any other way. Some of the most famous Cancers out there are Princess Diana, Bob Fosse, Tom Hanks, Ernest Hemingway, Derek Jeter, Sylvester Stallone, Milo Ventimiglia, Kevin Bacon, Camila Bennis, Helen Keller, Janet Leigh, Lindsay Lohan, Nelson Mandela, Carly Simon, Robin Williams, Ariana Grande, Selena Gomez, Khloe Kardashian, and Post Malone. Those are just some of the most famous Cancers out there. So I really hope that in this video you got an opportunity to really learn about the values, the personality, and the traits of a true Cancer. Cancers really truly only mean the best, with the best intentions, and they really only mean well. And at the end of the day, all a Cancer really wants to do is be and feel loved. So like I said to you guys, this is going to be an ongoing series on my channel. It's called Astrology Gazing Series. I'm really super excited. But like I said, I'm not a true astrologer. This is just some interest that I've had. We're going to dive into the rest of the 11 signs of the zodiac. I'm going to go through all of them. The next one is going to be Leo, and then we will continue up all the way through to the rest of the 11 signs. We're also going to be touching upon sun signs, rising signs, or maybe dive into a little bit more of the dualities, maybe hit a little bit of numerology, just things that I'm super interested in, and what some of those meanings can reflect in our life on a daily basis, and how we can learn about other people and learn about the other signs. So we'll get really into that as well, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this topic. You seem to really enjoy it. Like I said, I got a ton of positive feedback from my Age of Aquarius video. I tend to even dive into some of the other ages as well, leading up into the Age of Aquarius. So if there's something that you're totally interested in, you're going to want to hit that notification bell so you can get alerts when I make more astrology videos for you guys. So I just want to say hello and give a big shout out to our new subscribers. Again, we finally hit over 100 subscribers. I cannot believe it. I am so super excited. We did reach 106 subscribers today. That's how many subscribers I've had. So I just want to say hello and thank you to everyone who has been watching my videos. For now, guys, have a great weekend, and I will see you really soon. Bye.